Hey everybody, welcome to Connect in Cannabis, brought to you by Wrazel. I'm your host, Brian Holler. Today I have as my guest, founder and CEO of Lure Digital, Ky Schultz. We're going to be speaking about content creation and the importance of it and how to adjust to it given our current circumstances. Ky, hello, welcome.
Hello, thank you.
Yes, so how are you doing today? How's things going?
Things are going pretty good. I'm here at the home office. It's been pretty weird not going into work, but making the changes and doing the adjustments. So being at home is nice. It has its perks, but it's strange not seeing all of my employees.
Yeah, it is kind of interesting that way. Everybody's adjusting kind of, as best as they can, clearly. But there's definitely things I miss about kind of being around all my colleagues, day to day and kind of bebopping everywhere. But, here we are, adjusting to the new normal. And speaking of which, we're going to talk a lot about kind of how to position your content well.
Sure.
But first, Lure Digital is a content creation and management company. Do you care to elaborate a little bit more on that?
Sure. So basically, I started the business as a production company. And what we would do is brands would come to us and they would ask us to make a video for whatever purpose it was, whether it was like a television commercial or content for social media or content for a digital advertisement. We would just basically say, sure, we'll create that content for you. We'd create it, we'd hand it over. And I'd say about 50% of the time, brands did not know what to do with the content. They would take it, they would put it on Facebook, they would run it as an ad, and they would see like little return on the ad for the brands that didn't know how to effectively use the content. So I got kind of tired of seeing that happen. So I started moving into the more agency approach, in which now what we do is we, first ask, well, what is the content you want to create and why, and how is it going to be effectively delivered to your end user? And we would discover that a lot of clients don't actually have a system to get that content to their end user to actually see a return on their investment of the content that we're creating. So now we help them create the content intelligently and then take that content and deliver it to them, either being digital ads, running their social media platform, or their campaigns, depending if they want us to run the whole campaign top to bottom or just run a specific one-off kind of campaign or a lower level thing like that.
Sure.
And then we also help them with their SEO in regards to doing blog writing and so forth. So we're a lot more than just a production company now. And it really brings satisfaction to myself as the founder to see people actually using the content that we're creating in an effective manner rather than just having them have cool videos just to have cool videos.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there's such a wide variety of content types that you can really sink your teeth into. So, as long as you're willing to kind of commit to it, it seems like businesses, they can adjust to how they need. There's different ways to display the information that you're, wanting to display, whether it's, video, but it could be, first person videos versus third person, or, it can be all over the place. It could be product video versus, engaging. Speaking of which, what are some of the content types that you're seeing kind of be used a little more given our current environment?
Sure. So first off, we work for a lot of different types of industries. We work from like very tech-heavy brands to very business-to-consumer brands. So we're seeing different things in the different sectors. For the most part, though, what we're finding is that business-to-consumer, that's probably the easiest thing to explore at the moment. What we're doing is we're kind of shifting not only what we're shooting, in regards to shooting things that are kind of more around the home. We're trying to shoot things in a way that shows what people can do with products, and how they can utilize products with the circumstance that we're in right now. And I'll give you an example. We're working with like an auto detail type of company, like auto cleaning products and so forth. Mm-hmm. And what we're doing is we're not only adjusting the imagery, like I said, to show people cleaning their cars at home and so forth, versus like showing images of cars out at a car show looking really great. We're focusing on what people can do with their products at home to get ready, in a sense, for the car show or whatever they want to go do with their car. And we're changing the messaging as well. So we aren't obviously just trying to promote people to do things that is kind of numb to the circumstance. We want to make sure that people understand, like, hey, use this product. We understand the situation you're in. These are the types of things that you can do with this product to get ready for the future. And we also want to make sure that the brands are still communicating and connecting with their audience in a way that is still helpful and engaging.
Yeah. Transparency at this point, I think, is really paramount. I mean, obviously, plus you'd be doing your client a disservice if, you're creating content that's like, go to the car show and, go out and be around lots of people and, all this stuff, which would, that's very, very off message and not a very counter kind of way to do business.
Yes, and what I've seen, to interrupt really quickly, is I've seen that some brands are still doing that, but I don't necessarily think that they haven't, considered stopping doing that. What happens is I think that these brands are just taking content that they've already created and already had in calendars, and they've just kind of let it continue to run versus either stopping the calendar completely or actually shifting their messaging.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I'm sure a lot of that is budgetary concerns and being prepped, quarter in advance, that sort of thing. So, you kind of got to,
there's a lot of options there.
I mean, I don't really fault anybody for doing one or the other in that respect. For sure. Especially larger you are, as you know, the more sophisticated the kind of the content calendar is. So, absolutely. And so, actually, to bring it back to, basically creating and how you can work with different types of companies. So obviously Wrazel, we help cannabis companies, gain funding. The way I'm familiar with Ky is that Ky and Lure Digital are in the services index on Wrazel. I and we work with companies a lot as they're raising to kind of do content and things like that. But we need folks like Ky and Lure Digital to really, really help those companies be more robust in their content offerings. And so that's kind of how we know each other. That is a way that we can also work together to better companies, right? To improve their presence. I want to talk, and this leads me to my next question, which is sort of what you had alluded to in your last answer, which is how are you seeing your clients kind of adjust their language and their approach given the current environment? Like we talked a little bit about it, like let's not be dumb, let's not, tell people to go out and, be around bunches of people. But I mean a little more kind of around what they're saying and kind of the tone and how they're kind of adjusting to it. Are they being more, I suspect they're being more personal. Would you agree?
Sure. Yes, they are. And I mean, by saying that the brands are being more personal, it's pretty much us trying to influence the brand to be more personal because they can pretty much dictate. Like we have a long conversation with them about like, well, what is your brand's language? How do you want to come off? But we try to help them through that process of trying to discover their brand's voice, in which we are now trying to help brands be, yes, more personal, more understanding, and really, again, it's like trying to connect with their audience in a way that isn't, and I don't really know a better way to say this, but in a way that isn't like numb, like in a way that isn't like trying to do too hard of a sale. Like I'm finding that, especially in the B2B market, I still see some people trying to do like really hard sales. And it's kind of, even to myself, they're still kind of pushing with just like, hey, we want to make this sale. Let's make this thing go happen. What's the holdup? Yeah. And I feel like, like it's tough for me to say because there are so many businesses experiencing so much trouble in these times and like they still need to sell. So it's walking that fine line of knowing like how to sell, but how to be sensitive towards what's going on. So again, like I said, since I'm kind of focusing on business to consumer a little bit more, again, it's like really talking about, how a product could be used in a sense, or things that you can do, being a little bit more passive, maybe not offering or trying to push so hard with like a direct sale, right? But just really trying to, bring light to what you can offer and how you can help the industry.
Yep. I mean, I think these are good exercises for your company to go through regardless, right? Yeah. And I do agree with you, like B2B, sort of a little trickier in that respect, I guess. But I think that a lot of companies that are focused on B2B can learn a lot from B2C companies at this moment, to your point. B2C, I mean, even before all this I was very much, and so a lot of experts, et cetera, very much pushing a personalized, hey, nobody cares that you're toothpaste. They care that, about the culture. They care about like what kind of feeling they get when they see your toothpaste and they see you. Right? And so that's really what I was wanting to focus people on. And we have all these great tools like this right here to do this on, right? And they're right under our hood. All we need is to pay internet, to use them, and so I take your point very well. Like I really do think that one of the things that B2B companies try to or love to avoid sometimes is this, right? Yeah. And so it's up to folks like us to kind of, show them that that's the way. Do you find yourself doing that a lot?
Yeah, I do. Things have definitely changed. Like what's tough is also, and I'll kind of go into this just a little bit, is that like, in essence, we are a B2B company as well.
Right.
And so we've seen an extreme drop off in the amount of work that we're doing, especially in certain like types of jobs that we do, like anything that's event focused or anything that like we work for a cinema chain. Right. It's all completely gone, which is what I'm saying. Like when we try to market to those and when we run our personal email marketing and when we're running our social media, we've really scaled back on trying to make it a hard sell. And we've really tried to be more like understanding of the situation, even to the point of like people having to send invoices out. Like I say like, hey, look, I understand the industry you're in and I understand like how hard you've been hit and, you can make accommodations as needed. I'm lucky that I can say that. Right. To brands, it's so hard in a sense to talk about this because so many different companies are being impacted in such different ways. So
exactly,
it's really understanding across the board like what's going on and trying to help.
I mean, it's not just personalization from a marketing and a front-facing perspective, right? It's literally look inside your heart and what you can do and how you can help these folks because we're in unprecedented situations here, and anything that you could do to retain those clients, that's going to be important. And it's okay that retaining clients and doing the right thing line up.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of marketing. And I think that like an opportunity here is to, like you're going to build really great relationships with brands that you continue to help out. Yeah. I think that's going to further your relationship with the brand and help you, move into the future.
Yeah, agreed. I mean, everybody's going to be extended in some way or form or fashion right now, regardless, even if it's not a revenue situation, right? If it's not a budget situation, you're still stretched. Your coworkers, your colleagues, your employees are going through lots of things. You're clearly probably having to make at least a couple adjustments because either the you service or some element of your business had to be adjusted pretty significantly. Yeah. So, I think that's a good point is like, it's not just about what you're putting out there. It's that your messaging that you put out there is also being reflected in the internal processes that your company is, doing. What a great point that is. Yeah. So, on that note, as you move forward, what kind of, what strategies are you pushing the most, for your companies to adopt? And I don't just mean content types. I mean, ultimately, let's take your event person, for example. Mm-hmm. What did you say to them when they were talking about like, hey, obviously we don't have this element of the business anymore for you. What is your advice in terms of our pivot?
Are you talking about like our own employees or are you talking about the brand that we're working for?
The brand you're working with, yeah.
So, okay, so there was a bit of a dip. Like right when everything happened, we lost, I'd say like 95% of the jobs that we had lined up for, I guess like this month right now to shoot, because in regards to the production side of things, we have to get a group of like 5-10 people together, if not like 30 plus people together. That's right. And we just can't do it. Like there's just, laws and rules against doing that. And it's just morally not right to do as well. So we had to cancel a lot of those types of productions. But what we're seeing now is that we're having like an increase in work now based off of two different types of things. So the first is the events. Since you mentioned the events, they are starting to come to us, and we're starting to do more of like these web-based events, similar to this. Yep. So, and I'm sure, most people have heard of brands doing things like this. For instance, we're going to potentially be working with a brand that's going to be hosting an event where we would go and we would set up cameras at different people's houses, and then they would do more of like a live stream style of an event where everybody can go to a website and they can click around and see different types of things.
And you would have somebody like working a board, for lack of a better term, at their own place too, right?
Yeah.
Your producer would be at their own place. The monitor, the manager would be at their own place. Each individual on the webinar or the panel. Exactly.
Yes. So it's a little bit trickier for us because we have to figure out how to set up all that system, and work with like so many different people. But it's kind of a fun challenge to do. And then the other type of thing that we're seeing a lot more of is like functionality videos, like how-to videos in a sense. Like we work with a hospital. And one of the very first jobs that we got to do, which I was glad that we got to kind of, help out in the way that we could, was to create a video for a hospital that was teaching the elderly how to log into Zoom meetings so that they could have virtual meetings with their doctors.
Oh, that's awesome.
So again, we find that the marketing departments want to, in a sense, market as well as just actually help brands and people actually use their services still.
Yep. Well, and that's a fantastic kind of genre of content anyways, how to, educational, informative, etc. I agree. Like that's what I keep telling other folks that we work with, and even us ourselves. We've Wrazel, we've leaned into that even more than we already had been. Obviously, here I am talking to you. We essentially just converted our main type of in-person events to, for lack of a better term, shows. Here we go. Like this is like a B2B networking situation, right?
Yeah.
Hi, Ky Schultz, Lure Digital. Who are you? What do you do? That sort of thing. And so it's listen to Ky, everybody. He's giving you some very, very good advice. Lean into the informative, the educational, things that add value to people, right?
Yeah. And also, yes, and in regards to adding value, more on the B2C landscape, really digging into what people can do. I know I've said this kind of before, but what people can do within the circumstance that they're in. So, if you sell anything that is like, for instance, like a lotion or something, like what are the different types of things you can do with that lotion, and really leaning into that type of stuff that people can do in their home, or different ways that they can utilize it to bring a, like more comfort into their life at the moment, or if something is relaxing, or if something has benefits because of this or because of that, really educating your audience about those types of things and creating content around those types of needs.
Yep. And I guess it'd be a bit of a bit of a misnomer not to mention that, ultimately don't swing that pendulum too hard the other way, where everything you put out has to be about the virus or how it applies to this or the other thing.
Yes.
Look under the hood at what you do. What makes it stand out? Surely, I'm sure you've done some competitive analysis or something like that. Like just lean into one of the, like what you might have thought was like the fourth thing on the list that was the most like thing that separated you from your competitor. Yeah. Maybe that's number one right now.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And speaking to what you just mentioned, yes, I think it is important not to make all of your posts like the coronavirus is this and that, and these many people are being affected in these types of ways and stuff as well. Like people want to go to social media. People still want to look at videos, watch things that are funny, that are entertaining, that they can learn from, that they can actually kind of escape in a sense, like the reality of what's going on. So they still want to see, like let's say you had an image of, a group of people out at a concert or something. Like it's not wrong to post that, but it's about posting that type of content in the right way, not to obviously not be saying like, hey, let's go to a concert, or like, hey, let's have a family gathering. Like don't try to be saying that message, but reflect upon like the better times in the past and the better times to come.
Right, exactly. Like, yes, not wrong to acknowledge that we all like to go
Yeah.
to concerts and that
Yeah.
this is something that we want to do.
Yeah.
You just make sure that the language and the way that you've constructed that particular campaign, isn't saying go to a concert right now.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I agree. Ky, it's been a pleasure talking with you today. I do really, really appreciate it. Before we head off, let's make sure everybody knows where to find you out there and Lure Digital out there in the atmosphere.
Sure. Yeah, so we are at luredigital.com, and that is lure-digital.com. And you can connect with me there. You can send just us an email there if you want to, discuss work, or if you want to ask us any questions. I am more than happy to just have a conversation with you about everything that I spoke about to help you and help your brand kind of navigate these difficult times. We are on social. We are on Facebook, and we are on LinkedIn and Instagram.
Absolutely. And they're on Wrazel. So you can find them on the services index of Wrazel as well. Again, thank you, Ky, for being here very, very much. Again, if you need some content creation, please visit Ky and Lure Digital. And of course, as always, if you need some information about cannabis companies and getting help raising capital, or some just help getting funded over to that next plateau, reach out to me, Brian Holler at Wrazel. You can find us everywhere. So thank you again, Kyle, and thank you everybody for being on Connecting Cannabis today. Take care.